hello all. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know in the comments where you are in the world. Also, let me know, is the image and the sound okay? I'm assuming I'm coming through all right, so give me a thumbs up or whatever in the comments. And of course, what we're all here for, if you've got a question, put that in the comments and I will try and answer as many of them as possible. We've got some questions come in already by email and in the chat and stuff, so I will try and answer as many of those as possible. We've got Lisa in Bristol. Hey Lisa. Jerry is in from North Carolina. Hi Jerry, nice to see you again. Tip Top says Myanmar. Ooh, interesting. We've got all sorts today. Evans in Bristol, couple of Bristolians. Zachariah in Morocco, Francesco in Italy, we've got Henry in London, and Pasofino 117 is in Connecticut, USA. Paul's in California. We've got lots of Americans. Glad you could make it, my friends over in the US. I'm trying to do these at various times, so obviously this one being a bit later, I think it suits you guys more. The last one I did earlier, we had loads of people in India. I think maybe just the time helped. Good to see some friendly faces. Hi Tony Cannon, how you doing, Tony? Nice to see you. We've got Guido, is it, in the Netherlands, and John Chan in BC in Canada. Very nice. And the Dominican Republic, Mr. Ventura, fantastic. What a nice, nice bunch. I hope we're going to have a good laugh. So, if you follow my YouTube videos, you'll know that I teach a wide range of stuff. And that's because I play a wide range of stuff, or at least I practice at home a wide range of stuff. And what I mean by that is different styles, different types of music. I like playing all sorts on the harmonica. I think it's a good challenge. And we'll maybe get on to talking about that when we talk about some of the stuff today. But if you've seen me gigging, you'll know, or listen to my records, you'll know that the core of what I play when I'm gigging and recording is blues. And that's really my main thing. So I thought that we could do a little Q&A on blues specific stuff. I've also just released 2 big courses. They're both 5 modules, which is hundreds of videos, lots of step-by-step videos split into small chunks. One is blues for beginners and the other is blues for intermediates. So I put a link to that in the description on YouTube. There's also a link in the chat if you can scroll up and find that one. It's in the store on my website, and they're currently 5 for 4 on modules. So if you put all 5 in the basket and you use the code that comes up on the store, then you get it for the price of 4. Anyway, so that's if you want to take step-by-step lessons. But I'm going to try and get through as many of your questions as possible tonight. So I'm going to kick right off with, we had a question from Paddling16. Don't know if that's your real name on YouTube in the community tab, saying, why doesn't Howlin' Wolf get much harmonica love? I know he wasn't the best player out there, but he had fantastic harmonica tone. Also, what key harp is he playing in? Who's been talking? Okay, so let's talk about why he doesn't get any love. I think this is a good question, right? And especially because I've just done a video, some of you might have seen, of the top 10 harmonica players of all time, my favorite players. And some of the feedback I've had, some people have said, hey, some of these guys aren't that technically great. And some of them are technically fantastic, but some of the guys in the list aren't the best technicians. And there are certainly players out there who are better in terms of technique who didn't make my list. And that's because for me, technical prowess is not number 1 on my list of what I want in a player. For me, it's about listenability. I want to enjoy what I'm listening to. It's about music at the end of the day. I'm not interested in playing harmonica to show what the harmonica can do. I'm interested in playing harmonica and listening to harmonica to enjoy music. And so for me, I really like Howlin' Wolf. I think what he did was good for what he was trying to achieve. It added to his music. So I'm with paddling 16 wherever you are. I don't know if you're out there watching right now, but I like Howlin' Wolf. I mean, I don't know what other people think. Let me know in the comments. But I think he did a good job. I'd even, and I know I get hate for this, but I'd even say, we're not talking about blues, but someone like Bob Dylan, some songs at least, what he was doing added something to the music. Now, some of the time, I can't listen to certain tracks, but I would even go. I know a lot of people wish he was never born, but never picked up a harmonica. But I don't think as harmonica players we should go around trying to impose what we think is right and wrong. If people like the music, they like the music, and that's certainly the case with Howlin' Wolf. And as you say, great tone. The second part of the question, who's been talking? Let's get that tune up. So you're saying what harp is he using? I'm going to get it up on YouTube. I'm hoping this will come through. It's quite quiet. Hope you can hear that. Okay, so first thing I'm going to try and work out the key. Sounds like the song is in the key of E. Maybe a bit flat of that, but I think that's more to do with the recording or the original tuning of the instruments. But it sounds like it's around that note. The way I've checked that is I've taken a C harp and I just played the 2 draw and it wasn't that, and I played the 2 blow and it sounded about right. So I think it's in E because the 2 blow on my C is in E. This is what I do if I was trying to work. This is exactly what I do, trying to work something out for myself. So then I'm going to try my A harp and see if it's an A harp in second position. Yeah, it does sound slightly off from E. I think it's a bit flat, but not as flat as A flat. So between the 2 keys almost, which does make it harder to work out. Okay, so it could be an A harp in second position, but sounds suspiciously to me like maybe first position. It could be second position, so that would be a D harp. But I don't think it's that. It might be first position, which is actually, you would initially think, would it be first position? Because that would mean it was on an E harp, and who plays an E? But it sounds a little bit... Just not the notes themselves, because actually those notes you could play in first, second, or third. But it sounds suspiciously like the notes surrounding it might be first position. I might be wrong about that. And there might be different recordings of this in different keys or different positions. If you're on an E harp, it would be 2 draw, 3 draw, half step bend, and 4 blow. If you're in second position, you'd be higher up, so 4 draw, 5 draw, 6 blow. And if you're in, what was I talking about, third position, I don't think it's playing on. You'd be full step bend on 3 draw, 4 blow, 4 draw. So it does sound a little bit like first position to me. I mean, that would be my initial thoughts. Sometimes a few people saying, yeah, B flat, B flat. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what an original recording was in, because the recording could have shifted a bit, or they could have all been a bit out of tune. So, I mean, like Duke by Little Walter is a good example. Sometimes you end up, the recording's in E or E-ish. It might be closer to B flat or closer to A flat, but not bang on in tune. But that's quite an interesting one, that. I'm not that familiar with that tune, so I've literally just picked that up and had a little go then to have a listen and see what I thought, but that's my initial thoughts. So David Raphael on Facebook asked, with the diatonic harmonica, do you play the chromatic scale or diatonic scale? Okay, so I'm going to talk specifically within the confines of blues music now. But if we start with this, just a C diatonic harmonica, normal 10-hole blues harmonica. This is what we'd usually go to in terms of playing blues music. The instrument is tuned originally for playing in major keys or in playing the major scale. So that's C major on a C harmonica. But what happens most of the time with blues is that you're not playing the harp key in the key it was originally intended to be played. So this is where we get into the depths of positions. I don't want to do too much about positions, but this is we need to say a little bit. So don't worry, I'm not going to go deep. All we need to know for now is that we've got two things going on. We've got the harp you're on and the key you're in, and they're not always the same thing. So you can play a C harp in the key of C. That's what was intended. That's the most simple way of doing it. That's called first position. But most of the time with blues, or a lot of the time with blues, people end up playing in a different key. So on a C harp, playing in the key of G. And that's because of the note selection it gives you and the textures it gives you. We'll get to talking about textures in a bit. That's called second position. And in second position, you don't naturally have the full major scale. You've got the major pentatonic, so you can build major melodies. Yeah, we're on a C. The bass, the intro line from My Girl. That's a good way of remembering the major pentatonic scale. So that's 2 draw, 3 draw full step bend, 3 draw, 4 draw, 5 blow, 6 blow. So you can still build major sounding things in second position. But with blues, often you want to accent a few other notes. So you might want to accent the flattened seventh, because that's a really useful bluesy note, and that almost shifts us over to the blues immediately. Or you might want to play the minor third, the flattened third. Not sounding minor yet, but sounding minor-ish. So a couple of other scales you can practice are the minor pentatonic. So 2 draw, 3 draw half step bend, 4 blow, 4 draw, 5 draw, 6 blow. And if you add in the 4 draw bend, you get the blues scale. And they're the most likely set of notes that you'll be practicing to play blues music. The chromatic scale, which is what the initial question was, do you play chromatic scale or diatonic scale? You're unlikely to be playing through every note of the chromatic scale, if you like. You'll be picking certain notes out of that. In theory, you can play chromatically on this instrument with overblows and overdraws, and of course draw bends and blow bends. So you can get all the notes that would have originally been only available on a chromatic, like this one. This is a bit Darth Vader-y looking one. This is a CX12. Don't know, I don't think the light's good enough to show you that. I'm just about to say. So you can get those. But then certain of those notes aren't as likely to feature in blues, and you're not as likely to use them. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, David. Let me check in with the chat and see what I've missed, see if I've seen any questions have come in. Herbivore says, greetings from Wimbledon. Hi, Herbivore. I wonder if you were watching the tennis recently. I saw bits of it. Who else have we got? Teddy in Clearwater, Florida. Hello. Geodo is or George, I think is your name, from Greece. Robert's in Italy as well. Hey, Robert, how you doing? Paul Wendy says, how do you do that jamming or improvisation? Not sure what you call it that you were doing at the beginning. I'm just a brand new beginner. Okay. I mean, brand new beginner improvising blues. There's quite a gulf there. I would highly recommend that you check out my Blues for Beginners course, because that is the place to start if you're a complete beginner. You don't need to have done any playing, but I'll teach you to play blues from day one. Improvisation, there's loads of levels to build up to that point. I started with kind of like a walking bass. I don't know if I was on an A or a C. I think I might have been on an A. I'm going to pick up the A harp. It's kind of like a walking bass line, and actually this is a good thing to think about if you're thinking about improvising, or at least understanding the chord changes, understanding the blues. Listen to other instruments, because that's like ripping off a bass line. So that's kind of 2 draw, 3 draw, 4 draw, 5 blow. I'm doing over that over the 1 chord. When the chord changes to the 4, 1 blow, 2 blow, 2 draw, 3 draw, full step bend. Immediately, you might be saying, how do I play a bend? What is the 4 chord? As I say, there are lots of levels that get to the point of being able to do this stuff. So it's not just a case of me going, here's the notes, play it as a beginner. I cover bending. I cover using bends in blues in the course. The blues for beginners and blues for intermediate. I cover blues structure as well. So what's the 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord? You could play those notes further up. 4 blow, 5 blow, 6 blow, 6 draw. Doesn't sound as cool as. And then the 5 chord, I'm playing the 1 draw, 2 draw, half step bend, 3 draw, full step bend, 3 draw. So I'm kind of fully arpeggiating necessarily, but I'm playing the root, 3rd, 5th, and 6th degree of each chord. And then I moved off to improvising, but there are so many approaches to improvising. It's a minefield, and it's a rabbit hole if I was to try and teach, especially this question's coming from a beginner, to try and tell you how to improvise. I mean, first off, start listening to people. Start listening to Howling Wolf, Howling Wolf, which was in a question right at the start. Great place to listen to, or great musician to listen to for kind of getting soloing ideas. I am planning, by the way, an in-depth improvisation course, all about improvisation. So at some point that's going to be out. Tony says Liam's lesson are amazing. Cheers, Tony. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having my back. What else have we got? Konak Shah says, so play some Indian classic songs, you'll love it. Yeah, so this is all about blues, but one of the questions, which was a good one, I thought, let me see if I can find this. So it was Evan Davis, so I know you're out there, Evan, said, what's the best way to mix up my playing without getting bored with playing the same things every day? And someone was saying, learn some Indian tunes. I'm going to kind of refer to that in this answer. So the first thing is listen to the greats. Listen to the blues harp legends. Listen to Little Walter, Big Walter. Listen to Sonny Boy 1, Sonny Boy 2. Listen to your favorite harmonica players, maybe the modern guys as well. Imitate them. Try to copy them. Don't worry if you're not up to their level. I'm not up to their level, but I can still listen to them and try and do what they do. Try and make my own version of it. The reason we're doing this is so that it seeps into our playing. One of the things that makes a great player great is their variety, their ability to always come up with different slants on things, to surprise you, to take things a different way that you didn't expect it to. So in terms of trying to stop being bored with what you're playing every day, you'll soak up what they're doing. I'm not saying you need to memorize all their songs. Just stick something on, rewind it, see if you can work out just a little bit of the lick, a little bit of the solo. This stuff will seep in. Point 2, record yourself, listen back, and force yourself to avoid certain notes or phrases that you know you play a lot of. So sometimes I get in a bit of a rut, putting the 5 blow, and that's the major 6th. Well, it's the 6th degree of the scale, and it's a bit major. It's a bit like if you do it too much, it stops things being too bluesy. So then I'll force myself to practice without it, and if I go to it, red light flashes and I'm done, So I try and hit that 5 draw. Oh, I almost went to it then. I wanted to do it there and I had to force myself, and it's really difficult. But by recording yourself and listening back, you'll find what these things are, and it will, again, by doing less, by not letting yourself do a certain thing, it makes your playing more. It makes your playing more interesting. And finally, in answer to your question, Evan, I like to listen and play along to lots of different styles, lots of different instruments as well, because it inspires fresh ideas. So I'll now refer to that comment saying listen to Indian music. I don't tend to listen to a lot of Indian music, but if you do, or even if you just listen to pop music or rock music or country music, I'm not saying you then try and put the exact same scales into your playing, but even just phrasing, just clusters of notes, where they'd fit in the bar, exactly, where you're choosing to put them, you'll start to come up with fresh ideas. It's just about short-circuiting our human need and preference for familiarity, forcing yourself to go out of your comfort zone, and that's where the new stuff and the interesting stuff lies. Right, what else have we got? Let me see, I think I've missed a few questions maybe in the chat. Philip says, hi Liam, I just wanted to ask if there are any bad habits I could pick up teaching myself the harp and how to avoid them. Yeah, I mean, there's always bad habits. It's too much to go into every single bad habit I've ever heard of. I'm going to give you the big one of the big ones. I actually think there's a lot to be said for teaching yourself, or at least as part of your learning process, listening and trying to work things out for yourself. I'm a harmonica teacher and a harmonica player, and I learned from teachers, but also from teaching myself. And of course, I'm going to tell you, go and check out my courses. I would say that. But I'm also going to tell you to listen and work things out for yourself. You will make mistakes, but you'll learn that way. And you'll learn to not always be spoon-fed, to work things out for yourself. But one of the really big mistakes that people make as beginners is looking at the harmonica all the time. So I've taught hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years, and often a beginner will come and they've done a bit of work on their own, and they'll go to pick up the harmonica and they're like this. They're looking down at it. They're looking down at it every time. And then they move whole and they're looking at the harmonica. There's 2 reasons you shouldn't do this. One is simply you can't see the hole by the time it gets to your mouth because your nose is in the way. So by the time it gets there, you'll probably end up on the wrong one anyway. But more importantly, you should be trying to train your ears, not your eyes. Your eyes are useless with music. They're great for stagecraft. They're great for interaction with the audience, interaction with other musicians. But you need to use your ears. You need to listen to what sounds right. You need to learn that's the 4 blow on an A harp. You can't always rely on trying to look. I mean, it's just can't happen. So that's a big one. There are others. I think I've got a YouTube lesson on this, on kind of common mistakes. If you can't find it, drop me an email, contact@LearnTheHarmonica.com, and I can send it your way. Puddling16 says, so yeah, it's Lauren in Canada. I was answering your question about Howling Wolf. Yeah, I'm glad that helped you. Thank you very much. We have got someone. I'm sorry, I can't really read the characters in your name, but you're in Ukraine. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so next question. Oh yeah, so this is an interesting one on Facebook. I had this question from Chris Watt, and Chris said, could you say maybe a bit about blow bending on the lower end? Blow bending on the lower end, okay? And then he said, unless I missed something, you already did on that. Okay, so I need to clarify here. Now, I don't know where Chris has got, shooting it's a he, Chris has got his information, but the standard way of thinking about it is that you can draw bend the lower end of the harp and you can blow bend the top end. So the question didn't quite make sense to me because 1 to 6 draw you can bend. I'm going to go back to a C harp. So that's the draw notes, 1 to 6 draw. 7 to 10 blow you can bend as well. Sorry to all the cats and dogs out there, probably didn't enjoy that. So the question was blow bending on the lower notes. You can't really blow bend the lower notes. I have got I'm going to give you a little bit of an exception. But first off, the basics. Now, bending is an interesting technique because what you're doing is by angling the air, changing the pressure of the air and your mouth shape, your cavity in your mouth, you are making not just one reed vibrate at once, but both reeds, so both the blow reed and the draw reed. Normally, if I take a 4 draw, natural note, unbent note, I'm breathing in and the draw reed, one reed, is vibrating and giving me that note. When I bend, I'm actually angling the air and changing the pressure so that the blow and draw reed vibrate together and you get a pitch which is between the two. You can only do this really on the higher of those two air directions, so those two reeds. So the higher note on 1 to 6 is the draw note, so you can bend that draw note down. The higher note on 7 to 10 is the blow note, so you can bend those blow notes down. The slight exception is you can get like the micro bend. So if I take 6 blow, I can get that to bend. You were hearing. It is moving. It's a slightly different sort of feel to the bend, and it's not useful in the same way. Oh, and then it went to the overblow, which is what I was about to say, that if you go any further, it flips into the overblow, which is a different technique used for different things and actually pops a note that's higher. So you don't really hear people using blow bends on holes 1 to 6. You might hear them doing that micro bend as kind of a vibrato technique. So 6 blow. Technically, that's I'm technically bending that up and down, well, bending it down and back up and down and back up. But you don't. 7 to 10 blow is really the domain of blow bends. If you want to learn about bending, I've got YouTube lessons on bending. I've got some more coming up soon as well, so keep an eye out. Guido, or I think that's how I'm saying your name, Guido. I hope that's right. Says bending notes in a different key seems surprisingly hard. Squealing notes and all. Is that just my bad technique? Wrong breathing. Seems airtight on. Seems all right on some keys. C is fine, but D. Yeah. I check out my YouTube lessons on something that's worth saying here is that obviously as a harmonica player, you're likely to end up with loads of keys of harp. Whole case of them. Maybe even a kazoo as well if you're in a jug band. And what you'll find, and something that's important to focus on, is the qualitative difference between different holes and different keys of harp. So what I mean by qualitative difference is how it feels and the exact extent to which you need to do the things that you need to do to bend notes. So it will feel different on the higher harps. It will feel tighter and maybe more towards the front of your mouth. It'll feel deeper, like heavy weightlifting on the lower harps, especially the low tuned, specially low tuned harps. So there is this difference in how it feels. Don't worry if you're struggling on a different key of harp. It's about getting used to that. The same broad technique applies, but it's going to feel different and require slightly different edge to the technique depending on the harp and the whole key. So Norbert emailed me and said, what does pitch shift mean? So I'm going to talk about this now because it relates to bending. So I think what you're referring to, Norbert, in terms of if I've said it in lessons, I think what I would have been referring to was just changing a note. So usually making that note go down in terms of the note it is. So pitch just is referring to the note, where the note sits, how high or low that note is. You could talk about the pitch of a note or pitch of a tone. And then shift, obviously I'm changing that note. So for example, so that's the 4-draw bend. So I'm shifting the pitch of that note. You might have also heard me use it to mean pitch shifting a song. So sometimes I might talk about a song being in the key of E, but I've moved it to G. I've pitch shifted it to G. I'm then talking about moving the whole key up or moving the whole key down, the whole song up or the whole song down. Same idea, but it's the whole thing. It's like instead of grabbing that one note, I'm grabbing everything and changing the key. I've done that with a piece of software. I use a piece of software called Transcribe. Transcribe with an exclamation mark at the end. Don't know why. If you Google it, then you'll get that program. And it does various things. You can speed things up and down. You can split songs into sections and analyze it. But what you can also do is change the key just by sliding a little cursor. It's brilliant. It's quite cheap. I can't remember. It's $50 or something. You get it for life. I used it in the Indiara Fair video where I did the improvisation in C minor. You can see the program in that video, so check out my lesson on that. That's something someone else asked about, actually. So let's get on to that. So where was it? I know it was in here somewhere. Someone was asking about, here we go. Graham. So Graham emailed me and said, I've been looking again at your video of improv in C minor, Indiara's improv in C minor. I'm getting there with the notes and difficult things like 8 and 9 blow bends, but the timing is so difficult. Do you know the time signature? Okay, so confession, I don't really think about time signature. I'm not too, most of the time with blues, you're going to be in 4/4, which is like the standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm not thinking about timing signatures that often, but even when it is a different time signature, my interaction with music is not first and foremost theoretical. I've learned some theory along the way and it's helped me to teach, but my first interaction is hearing it. Now, I think improvisation in C minor might be in 6/8 from memory. I will stick it on again. I hope you can hear this. Now, hope you can hear that. She's on a B flat harp. I've got a full lesson on this, really long YouTube lesson, free. But if you hear that backing track, you can count it in 3s. You could count it in 6s. You can count it in 3s. And that would be my first thought listening to this, in terms of trying to feel the beat and get the timing, which is what Graham was asking about. As I say, it could be 3/4. I think it's probably 6/8. More likely it's 6/8. Whichever chord time signature you wanted to, work out it was, you can count it in threes. And that's the most obvious difference from this and then a lot of blues where you're counting in fours. So you can't really count this in fours. If I try 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Well, you can, but it makes more sense to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Because that backing track, the guitar is going do 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 do. So you can kind of count along with those threes. Now, probably, Graham, that's what's throwing you off, because you're probably used to kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's about how the beats and how the bars are being split up. And the best thing to do to get you started with that is start singing along with the backing track, sing along with the track. But, I know you were learning the harp part, but listen to the guitar behind it. Listen to what's happening there. See if you can feel that rhythm, and you can almost kind of sway to it rather than kind of chunk along counting to 4, and that's probably throwing you off. Listening again is really going to make a difference. So what else have we got? So Juju Walker 25 says, hi, could you help me figure out what key my harmonica is on? Presumably you mean like what key the harmonica is tuned to, what key is it in? We also had another question similar, saying how to know the key of harmonica from its sound, which was from Jackie Fernandez by email. So working out the key of the harp, I mean, if you've got a harmonica and you want to know what key it's in, the best thing to do is get a tuner. Well, the first thing to do is look at the thing, because most of the time it'll tell you. That's actually a sticker I've put on, but this would say in tiny letters somewhere B flat on it. Most of the time it'll tell you. It might be in tiny little letters like that, C, but it'll tell you itself. If you're really not sure, get a tuner, play the one blow, and that note on a normal harmonica will tell you that that's like the home note, the home key for that harmonica. So then you'll know what key it's in. In terms of listening to other harmonicas and working out what key they're in, I mean, at first it's just, well, first off, ask someone, because that's the easiest thing. But if you're trying to really work it out for yourself, you've got to get used to the range of notes, how low will a harmonica go and how high will it go. If you're hearing really squeaky notes, it's not going to be a G harmonica, because it won't go that high, whereas an F will do. But most of the time you'll be in the mid-range, and it's more a case of listening with your experience of licks, phrases that people are playing. Well, where is that likely to sit on the harp? Most of the time blues guys are holes 1 to 6. So it's trying to imitate what they're doing and see if that's possible on any given harmonica. It's not easy. There isn't an easy answer to this, but the 2-draw is a good place to start, and that's why I, right at the start with the Howling Wolf tune we were looking at, I tried the 2-draw first, because that's like the home note if you're playing in second position, which it's a good bet that someone is with blues, and it's worth checking, seeing if that's kind of the home note for that song, in which case if it is, then it's probably on that key harmonica, and it's a C, or it's an A, or it's a D. It's not easy though. This is something that develops over years of listening. It's like saying, how do you work out a tab to a song? You just start. I know this is that sounds like a cop-out, but years ago, I just started trying, and now I'm a bit better at it. You know, you get quicker and you get better. Sometimes you look back and think I didn't get that right originally. But again, it's that idea of not always being spoon-fed, trying things out for yourself. Okay, we've got a few more questions that I've had come in already, and I think there's a couple in the chat which I'm going to try and get as well. So I'll try and answer those. So what did we have? Dave Rings emailed me, and he says, I'm a beginner in every sense of the word. I'm 7 years old and can't seem to get my breathing right. If I try to just breathe into the harmonica, the volume is so low. How do I increase the sound volume without blowing or sucking too hard? Okay, great question from Dave. And it's all about what's happening here. So I'm going to take my C harp. And what often happens with beginners is that you are trying to push your lips onto the instrument. So you end up with this. That's trying to play a 2-draw. I'm having to kind of suck to try and get the note. Whereas if I do it really lightly, it's really quiet. That's not good, is it? Not good at all. Kind of connection with the harmonica. So instead of thinking, push my lips out to the harmonica, think of get that harmonica in your gob, get that harp in your mouth. So the difference is it's right in there. Instead of I'm bringing the harp to me, that's my 2-draw, and that I'm barely breathing in at all. I'm not forcing the air, and that means the tone is better, it's in tune, and I'm going to be able to play a lot nicer and with a lot less effort. And that's the biggest thing you can do as a beginner to try and get your notes or get the kind of approach to the instrument right, the foundations right. A follow-up question to that is often, well, what about the fact that I'm then getting a messy note? So kind of a chordal sound. And it's just about finding that sweet spot of narrow enough that you're only getting one hole, like that. Don't know if you can see it in the light. Probably can't. But not so narrow that you're, you don't want to be that. So it's definitely a balance. But if in doubt, put the harp further in your mouth. So don't bring your neck forward. Don't kind of push your lips out. Without the harp there, just got that gormless face going on. That gormless face going on. So it's actually simpler than we think it is. It's kind of overcomplicated, or we overthink it, when actually a lot of the time it's just a case of relaxing what's happening. Okay, Evan says, brilliant answer. Thanks, Evan. I'm glad you enjoyed it. William Barker Wyatt, good name, William, says, I enjoy your teaching style. Thank you. I'll sign up soon. Cheers, mate. Question, do you think a mechanical metronome is better? As in watching the pendulum gets you in the rhythm. Good question. Okay, so up until recently, I had an old-fashioned mechanical metronome, and I loved it. And the reason I loved it was not really to do with watching, because I think there's a danger in, again, using your eyes rather than your ears. But I liked that I could have my phone off, I could have my computer off, and I could really zone out from everything else and focus on the metronome. So I think they're definitely useful in that regard. I mean, these days, it's so convenient to have one on your phone. My real physical metronome broke, and I haven't bought a new one. It's been a few months now. I've got a good one on my phone, and I find as long as I'm really in the zone, I don't get distracted by the other stuff on my phone, although it can be tempting to. So I think it's more about focus. Like, your practice needs to be deliberate and focused, and that's how you'll improve your playing. And I think a physical metronome can help with that. I don't think looking at it is that useful. It can actually be a bit of a bad habit. So referring back to this idea of bad habits and this idea of using your ears is what you should do. If you're looking, yes, it helps you tell when it's going to do that, but you shouldn't be playing so loud that you can't hear it, and you should be listening rather than looking as your kind of first port of call. Okay, Konak says, some other YouTubers say that for classical music you need a 16-hole harmonica. So can you help me with playing classical music on a diatonic? Yeah, I mean, this Q&A is really about blues, so I don't really want to get into playing classical. Plus, don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to classical. But the diatonic isn't the ideal instrument for playing classical music, mainly because when it comes to classical music, the chord changes, the key changes get complex. Then the scales you might want to play get varied. And a diatonic harmonica, although in theory you can play complex stuff, as I say, in theory you can play chromatically on the diatonic, it's not suited for that. It's not the instrument's strength. Its strength is in its textures, in its bluesiness, in the bends, whereas a chromatic, all the notes are there, just press the button. So this is better suited for playing jazz or classical. I'm not saying you can't do it, I'm saying I can't do it. So it's not really to be advised unless you're a virtuoso. Okay, so Johnny Sachs says, hey Liam, Johnny from Belfast here. Thanks for tuning in, Johnny. I'm aware you are predominantly a tongue blocker these days. As a hybrid player myself, I was wondering, did you utilize tongue blocking or lip pursing when warbling? Yeah, so I still do a bit of both, and I'm not very good at blow bending tongue block, so that's one of the things that comes out. And if I overblow, I'm certainly lip pursing it. But warbles is one of those things I'm still, no, I'm pretty comfortable with the tongue block. I mean, the thing I have noticed with warbles is that I tend to move my head, and I've been trying to teach myself to move the harp just so I can do both. So I tend to, and I've been trying to get myself to, I'm not as accurate with it. But yeah, I think tongue block, yeah, I'm comfortable with the tongue block now. I mean, it's a case of not putting too much pressure with the tongue on the instrument. I have just finished editing a big course on tongue blocking, brand new 5-module thing going through all sorts, all different techniques and teaching songs with different textures added. It's going to be released, I think, at the weekend, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're on my mailing list, because then you can get an update on that. But yeah, I mean, I started out lip pursing everything, and then I've gradually moved over to tongue block. I'm not a tongue block evangelist. I just think it's great for certain things. Jerry says, improv in depth. I'm ready to dive in. ETA, I haven't recorded it yet, but it's going to be towards the end of the year, I think. I don't know if it's ERS says, hey, I've always wondered if you hang around Spotify and if you have a suggested harmonica, especially blues playlist to listen to. I'm not big on Spotify. The reason is I'm a musician and they are terrible for musicians' royalties. But I do have some music on Spotify because if you don't, you just miss out on a huge chunk of the market. So do search Liam Ward Band and search Liam Ward and Malcolm Thorne and search the Jake Leg Jug Band and you'll get my stuff. I'm not very good at suggesting Spotify playlists because I'm not, I don't use it basically. Herbivore says, Jason Ritchie says he actually taped over holes to avoid them. Yeah, that's a great technique for this, trying to avoid notes, to strip back, to make yourself more creative in the long run. Really good. Juju says, how do you figure out what each note is on your harmonica? Could someone help me? I don't really understand if it's C, G, or what note. I mean, you can just use a diagram. I have diagrams. You can email me. There's one, you can't really see it on the wall here. of all the different notes on the harmonica, and you can search harmonica note layout. You know, these things are out there, they're not clouded in secrecy. What else do we have? What do we have? Jerry says, don't play with elbows on the table. Bad habit. Yeah, that is. Sandra Lopez Harp says, Sandra Lopez says, hi Liam, are there certain notes that sound better on each chord? Yeah, there are. I mean, music isn't about right and wrong, but there are certain notes that are generally accepted to sound better on certain chords. So it really depends on context, it depends on the position you're in. But I do have YouTube lessons again on soloing. And as I say, I'm going to have this improv course ready, so I'll make sure that I put something in for that. Make sure I cover that. Right, what else do we have? I've got a couple more emails. Chris emailed me to say, when you were still on an intermediate advanced level, how much percentage-wise were you practicing versus just playing songs? And would you learn multiple songs and licks at any time, or just focus on one, then the next one? Okay, so in terms of practicing, I think if you think about your practice session, I would suggest you start by practicing something that you're comfortable with, that's easy, just as a warm-up, just to get you feeling good about yourself, you know, and get you started, get you kind of eased in. Then, when you've still got lots of energy left, so after a couple of minutes of just fun stuff, focus on a new technique or concept. Now, the number of techniques or concepts or songs that you want to look at is really to do with your own learning style. So Chris and others out there, it depends on whether you like to do several things at once and you find that inspires you, or whether that actually overwhelms you and you find that it's too much. I would generally say go deeper into a certain thing, into a specific one technique, but everyone's different. So the range in terms of, some people really like to focus on one. Some people can do 2-3 things and still get away with it. It's about how much energy you have, how much focus you have, how much enthusiasm you have. We all have a limit. So I recommend when you are practicing, whether you're doing one technique, 2 or 3, take regular breaks, especially when you're feeling mentally tired. If you do your practice in small chunks, you'll learn a lot better than trying to lock yourself up and not have a tea break and not have a break to go to the loo for 5 hours. You know, no one can do that. And then finally, finish with something fun again to get yourself out of it and get yourself feeling good again. But it really is down to your specific personality. Lisa says, don't forget my question about dirty notes and split octaves. Yeah, so Lisa sent me, well, she commented on YouTube actually before we started saying, hi Liam, I'm learning about dirty notes, i.e. drawing 2 notes at any time and extending up, and basic octave splits. Can you give insights and tips into these techniques? Okay, so what's a dirty note, or sometimes called a double stop? This is where we consciously play more than one note at once. So I'm trying to find my C harp. When you're a beginner, one of the first things you learn is how to narrow down multiple notes to a single note, so that you're not playing that sort of thing. That's a no bends, just a beginner kind of bluesy-ish thing. And then as you introduce bends, that's all single notes. If you slowed it down, that kind of thing, single notes. But one of the great things about this instrument is the textures it can give you. And one of those textures is a double stop. So I'm intentionally playing that messy, playing more than one note. So in that case, I did a pretty even split between 3 and 4 draw. I also did a bit of a bend on it, and I did some vibrato, and that kind of made it sound nice and made it sound bluesy. But essentially, I'm trying to go back to this idea of a wider mouth shape. But you have to have your clean single notes to begin with. Otherwise, you get, which is not really what we're aiming at. It's about plugging in that double stop, that 2-hole width, when you want to. So that's double stops. And they're not that difficult to learn. It's just about that mindset, that change from one to the other. 3 and 4 draw is a good one to start with. 4 and 5 draw as well. They're the most useful, probably, for blues. It's just to do with the note selection. They sound kind of cool. Those combinations of notes are great. Octave splits are a different beast. They are also a way of getting a different texture. So in that sense, they're similar. But we're doing a different, radically different thing with our mouth. So instead of just making your mouth wide enough for 2 holes, again, I don't think the light's great, but with a double stop, I'm trying to give you, it's not really great, sorry. You just got your mouth wide enough for those 2 holes. With an octave, you've got your mouth way wider. So for example, 4 holes wide, and then you're blocking with your tongue down the middle, which is like, whoa, what's going on there? And what that gives you is 2 notes either side. And with an octave split, you've got 2 notes an octave apart. So mouth 4 holes wide, tongue down the middle. And that's our octave split. Now, a good example of using that is on the 3 and 6 blow. And if you think of Duke's, Little Walter's Duke, then that's a really good example of how an octave can turn to a bit of a fatter sound. Sorry, it's getting hot in here. So that's a good example, 3 and 6 blow. The 2-5 draw technically isn't an octave split. It's a dirty flat 7th interval. It's the same shape. And that's really good in blues, as is the 1-4 draw sometimes. If you want to learn more about octaves and more broadly about tongue blocking, check out my tongue blocking course. Again, it's on the website in the store, so you can find out more about that. But that's the basic gist of those 2 techniques where you're starting out. It's just about adding textures to your playing. So it's about learning first single notes, and then how can we add more to it? And that's the strength of this instrument. That's one of the big strengths of this instrument, so it's well worth looking into. Okay, so Lee Smith in Ontario, Canada, emailed me to say, "Hi Liam, what's your favourite harmonica song that you play without harmonica player vocals? I have vocal cord cancer and I'm looking for another song to start playing. I know I can always have someone else perform singing parts, but sometimes the vocals are a natural fit and it's a little bit awkward to not sing them as well." Quick answer, Easy by Big Walter Horton. I have a free intro lesson on YouTube and a premium lesson on the full song. Oh, by the way, Lisa, I have a YouTube lesson on the intro to Duke as well, and a premium lesson on the full song. Yeah, Easy brackets, I almost lost my mind, close brackets, is a really good song study, Lee, in terms of instrumental harmonica. It's not too fast. The song, obviously called Easy, it's not easy to play, but it is accessible. If you don't need to be an advanced player to play it. Okay, let me just double check if I've missed any emails, and then I will double check our chat as well. So I think I've got most of it. Oh, Harris said on Facebook, Harris Deutsch, Dr. Laff, I don't know what your real name is, said, using harmonica to add harmonies to other musicians in the band. I do it and I can't describe the process. I mean, might be a bit beyond, I'm already running out of time, so it's a bit of a rabbit hole. But again, the starting point is learning to listen, imitate other instruments. But you need to know your harmonies to get there. I mean, it's probably a bit, sorry, Harris, to be a letdown with that one. Probably a little bit too much to get into right at the end of this session. Again, probably well, I have covered that a bit in some of my courses, the idea of playing background harp. I think it's in the blues course. I did some stuff on being an accompanying player, so you can check that out. I think I always manage to miss some, but I think that's the emails done. So let me see what else I've missed in the chat. Evan says, learning Summertime in G with backing track, not sure when to come in on time. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the specific backing track itself. But and it depends how you're counting it. So normally 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Summertime and the living is easy. Best thing is to listen to, find a version that you're comfortable with, find a backing track that's similar, and play along with the original song over and over and over and over to the point where it's just ingrained in your head. You won't even have to listen by the time you get to the backing track. It'll just be there. Jerry says, Evan, talk to your mentor. There is a long intro, many summertime backing tracks. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It depends on the track. So what else have I missed? Paddling 16 says, I have a question about position playing. Songs in the key of E, what makes harp player decide to play in third, second, or first position, or any position for improvisation? Very, very briefly, depends on context. So if it's a minor blues, you're more likely to play third position. If it's a standard blues that's got that tension between major and minor, second position. First position would more be just a choice for textural reasons or for the challenge of it. In terms of blues, first position isn't likely to be the easiest way to do it, so it'd be more for a specific choice of your own. Kelvin says, East top harmonicas, are East top harmonicas good for beginners? I'm not that familiar with East top harmonicas. I think I've played some Brendan Power harps where I think he used or uses East top. They have emailed me recently asking if I want to do some demos, so maybe keep an eye out. I might do some demos or some giveaways. I might do a giveaway soon. Okay, I think I've done most of what's in the chat there. I've probably missed a few. I'm really sorry if I did. Oh, Michael Kroll says, what overdraws would you add on blues? I mean, I don't really use overdraws, but the overdraw on your, I'm having to check that I'm using the one I run. The 8 draw would give you the same as the 4 draw bend. So 8 overdraw is the same as 4 draw bend. I think I'm right in saying that. Yeah, I'm checking my harp key there. That'd be the most useful one probably to start with. Right, I'm done. I can't face anymore. I'm going to be here all night. I should have told you I'm a bit distracted because my sister is currently in labour and could give birth at any minute. I'm an uncle already 3 times by marriage, but I've never been an uncle through my actual siblings. I've got 2 sisters. And I'm really excited, so I feel like I want to check my phone and see if anything's happened and see if we can go and meet the baby. But I think that's it. Thank you everyone for coming out. Great questions today. I hope some of that's made sense. Again, I'm really sorry if I missed your question. Drop me an email if I did. I'll try and include it if it's relevant for a future topic. I'm doing these Q&As on specific topics, so I'll try and cover it if it works in the future. Thank you to Cha for the tip, and to Jerry. You can tip in the chat. I don't know how you do it, but apparently it's possible because these guys are doing it. You're legends. I really appreciate if you could send me something. I don't really make much through YouTube. I gig as my main source of income, so I haven't been doing that. I've got a few in the diary now, which is good, but it's not been great. So I would appreciate anything you can send me. And also, if you want to take my in-depth step-by-step course, there's a link in the description to the course. You can find out more about that. I'd really appreciate that. And there's a link to donate on my website. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming along and for being here. And I wish you the best of luck with your playing, and I hope to see you very soon for another Q&A or for a course or in my member zone if you're a member. Yeah, that's all I've got for you guys. I'm going to go and find out if I've become an uncle by blood. See you again.